name is Stefano Barlosi. I'm a senior scientist at Biodiversity International. I'd like, first of all, to give my thanks to the organizers, Professor Cannella and to Sandro Del Nini, for having organized such a stimulating conference. And I'm very pleased to be here to share our thought on biodiversity, why it is important, biodiversity, in the context of the Mediterranean diet. And I'm going to articulate some of these reasons. First of all, allow me to say, some of you may not be familiar with my organization. Biodiversity International was founded in 1974 within FAO, and then later on became an independent organization of this network of centers called the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research Center. These are international centers that work to fight hunger, malnutrition, and poverty around the world. So why biodiversity? What is the role of biodiversity in this network? Well, we focus on the use of biodiversity and how to enhance the agricultural biodiversity to improve livelihood of people. We are based in Maccarese in Rome, and we have offices distributed around the world. What is our work? We have 6 areas of focus. We work in the area of enhancing agricultural biodiversity for nutrition, of improved livelihood, but also we focus on selected commodity crops like banana, cacao, and coconuts. Conservation ex situ is also another area of focus. Forest-wide relative international collaboration, and also analysis of status, trends, and evaluation of agricultural biodiversity. I don't want to take more time to present my organization, but you have our web page, and this is our address to find some more information. Let's go then to the point of our workshop, the Mediterranean diet. If you go to the internet, you find lots of pictorial representations of diversity. I like this one because it has also photos of the food when we say vegetables, but what vegetables, what species, why these species are important, and I will articulate that. Now, Dr. Elliott earlier on mentioned this idea of the pillars that we were discussing, and I proposed. I said, you know, if we reflect on the pyramids, let's think about what is really essential in order to have an effective Mediterranean diet. And from my point of view, we have the biological diversity with the genetic diversity, animal and vegetables and plants. Then we have the cultural diversity. And then we have the physical diversity, environmental diversity. Let's not forget, the Mediterranean, you have desertic areas, you have different ecogeographical regions, and the interaction of these 3 components gives us the possibility to develop a sustainable Mediterranean diet. And the proper management of these 3 aspects ultimately leads to the well-being of the people living in the Mediterranean. But let's remind also ourselves, what is the role of biodiversity in our life? First of all, we have the contribution to nutrition, to health. It is also important for income generation. It's important for empowerment. May not be important maybe in Italy, but in some countries, also in the lower Mediterranean, the women, through the work they do on the agriculture, they also get empowerment. And also biodiversity is important to keep a healthy ecosystem. Let's think about the control of pests and parasites, for instance. But also, as it has been reiterated many times, biodiversity is also an opportunity to emphasize our culture and our traditions. I wanted to also remind ourselves that when we talk about biodiversity, we refer to diverse food, diverse crops that also meet the diverse nutritional needs of people. Right? Let's look at each of us has different also aspirations, different desires for food. So a great diversity on the table also meets these desires. Also, when we say biodiversity, we talk about different crops, but also different varieties, and I will give some examples about that. Why the Mediterranean diet is special? Well, let's go to the root of this aspect, because the Mediterranean region is one of the largest, the richest region in the world with regard to plant biodiversity. It is people during centuries, thousands of years, have selected out of 25,000 plant species, hundreds of crops, and used for meeting different needs. In fact, it is one of the centers of diversity that was discovered by Vavilov. And in a study done by the University of Bari, Professor Bianco, we have identified more than 137 indigenous vegetables originating from the Mediterranean. So why I want to emphasize this? Because when we have that stripe in the pyramid, vegetables, let's not think about just carrot or pumpkin. There are so many vegetables that are important for the nutrition and are also important to make our dishes diverse. These are the 8 Babylonian centers of origin that I mentioned before, and the Mediterranean is at the center. So we have lots of crops here that have the primary or secondary center of origin. Now, let's think about tomato. Tomato is so important. In reality, tomato was introduced to the Mediterranean after the discovery of America, but it was the cultural diversity in the Mediterranean region that gave tomato those varieties that we enjoy till today. It is thanks to the diversity of people who have selected those diversity. I go often to the Latin America, you will be surprised. I go to the center of origin of tomato, you don't find all these varieties because the culture is different. The interest of people are maybe shifted to other crops. So we have also to consider the role that plays the cultural diversity in shaping biodiversity. This was just a list, you cannot see very well, but of all the food crops and spices and herbs and vegetables originating from the Mediterranean. So what is the situation today on biodiversity, plants and animal biodiversity? Well, the situation is not very good, because for instance, in Italy, just referring to Italy, out of the 8,000 varieties of fruit trees recorded in the late 18th century, we have only 2,000 varieties, and these 2,000 varieties, the majority is also under threat of genetic erosion, according to the survey done by the Osservatore Agroambientale from Cesena. We have a lot of statistics that report the loss of crops and also breeds. We enjoy so much the Parma ham here, but to make a good Parma ham, you also need good breeds, which have been selected by people. These breeds are also disappearing. We are talking about different species of animal, of course. And here, at least, there is not much time, but the point I wanted to make, once again, is that it is also these local varieties that have been safeguarded for centuries by local community that make the Mediterranean diet special and different from all other diets around the world. We have been working in biodiversity on a UN project on date palm. We are not so familiar in Italy with date palm, but date palm is one of the crops that is typical of the Mediterranean, the symbol of resilience, sustainability. It grows in the desert. Now, Algeria has more than 400 varieties of date palm. These varieties are disappearing because there is a fungus, balut, that is fusarium, that is killing these varieties. So we have carried out a project to safeguard this diversity. And this, because if we lose date palm, we will also lose part of this diversity that makes the Mediterranean diet important. The same things apply to pistachio. I was carrying out a study in Syria. Syria is a center of diversity for cultivated pistachio. Pistachio is one of the nuts that is included also in the diet. Well, in Syria, the market is shifting towards 2-3 varieties, and out of 25, all the others are being lost. rocket. I worked in Africa for 7 years. And